Hello, kiddies. It's your old pal John Kassir, the voice of the Crypt Keeper. And I hope you get to check out my good fiends at A Decade of Horror on the PSVG Podcast Network. I hope you love them like I do. They're a scream.
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
What's up, guys and ghouls? Thank you for tuning into PSVG's A Decade of Horror, the scary movie podcast where we relive a year that was one horror movie at a time. Hey, you guys say that. It's not as easy to say as it sounds. There's a lot of this year we're going to chat about 2019, and of course the Scream team is here. We're all here. Lucas, Josh, and Donnie.
Ooh.
Hello, Clarice. 2019, guys. I did more prep for this than I did by 2018 by far. But here's my dilemma. I love two movies in 2019, and I like 7 movies.
Everything else.
Translation: Donnie is going to do most of the talking for the number one pick for this year.
All right.
I suspect you have notes.
I really don't. No.
You've been doing notes for some movies.
I have been when I want to get detailed and all that. Dude, come on. It's Midsummer. I know everything about it. I was like,
hey.
Come on.
Spoilers. You
Come on. Come on. They knew this by now. They know.
Justin just stopped listening.
Just threw his iPod down.
You think he's still listening now? That's a very hopeful thought you have, Josh.
He has a kid, so he has free time to put the headphones in. I'm sure he's still listening.
Josh, hit us with some fun facts.
Oh, we gotta do this again. Hey, like I did in 2018 for the first time, I only have good news.
Good news, everyone.
Some things that are argued.
I feel like you're robbing the fans from the experience.
Yeah, sorry. Listen, 2019, horrible year. Yeah. Just go to Google, type in 2019, and open that first Wikipedia page. And just
dude, I like Wikipea. They should look at that. Wikipea?
Wikipedia. 2019 Wikipedia. Okay, let's start with 2019. Good news only edition. Same-sex marriage becomes legal in Austria.
Oh, I thought you meant here.
The whole world is moving forward.
Without us.
Oh yeah, there are some states, huh? I'm sure none of us live in one of those. Avengers Endgame is released, and it also becomes the highest grossing movie of all time. And we'll get to that later.
Wow.
The United States wins the Women's World Cup.
Hell yeah, we did.
Yes, we did. Yes, we can. The Space Force is founded to deal with space crimes.
Oh, space crimes. Is that like international waters? Space is just international space.
It actually is listed as space warfare.
We own space.
But we'll get to that at a different point. The Patriots win the Super Bowl.
Of course.
Yes, we did. The Nationals
was that the terrible game? It was 13-9 or whatever. That was my Super Bowl, wasn't it?
No, that was 2017.
No, the one in Atlanta, right?
Yeah, that wasn't last year, was it?
I think
it was
so.
last year. I don't know.
Who knows?
Time is irrelevant.
Who cares? I was there. Have no memory of it. Who cares?
The Raptors win the NBA championship, and the Blues win the Stanley Cup. Not only was Avengers the highest grossing movie of all time, but it topped the box office with $2.7 billion.
Ooh.
Yes, it did. Not only that, but Old Town Road is your number one song of the year.
Dude, I saw, I have a mashup of Old Town Road with Genuine's Pony, and it slaps. It's fucking awesome.
Why do I feel like that song has been out for 8 years?
because it was number one for every week of the year.
Wow.
I'm guessing. Okay. A stock photo of an egg got 54 million likes to be the world's most liked photo ever.
Really?
Of an uncracked egg or
Just an
a
egg?
full
A regular
intact egg?
stock photo of an egg. It's not even the photo that like someone took and posted on Instagram. It was a
That's stupid.
stock photo of an egg.
That's awful.
That's dumb.
What happened?
Well, the push was so it would get more likes than a Kardashian, which was the number one most liked.
Also,
so people
it's
prove
awful.
they like an egg more than a Kardashian.
Jeez.
I guess I'm down with that. Yeah,
The Fire Festival happened, or did it?
didn't.
The Fire Festival happened to a bunch of people, but nothing.
Netflix and Hulu, they got their money for that little happening.
The first look of Sonic came out and then promptly went away.
JK,
Human Teeth Sonic was.
Nightmare Sonic.
Scientists captured the first image of a black hole.
It was
cool.
not black.
Keanu Reeves is breathtaking.
Oh, yes. Donnie's Xbox revival was born.
They also called it the Keanu-sance, apparently, stemming from John Wick.
Yeah, he's been on a wave ever since.
Yeah, he's riding high. Everyone forgave the samurai movie, Seventh Throne, which I actually liked.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say Devil's Advocate.
Game of Thrones and Big Bang Theory end.
Or was that Angels movie he was in?
The Angels movie?
Yeah, where he was like, oh, come on. He was fighting angels and demons and stuff.
Oh, Constantine.
Yeah, Constantine.
Oh,
I was going to say like Apostles or something, but yeah, Constantine.
Yeah, that's a good movie. Underrated. Greta Thunberg makes waves. No pun intended. The Storm Area 51 movement happened.
There's kids
what a
playing.
joke.
Where?
You
Outside
see
your
me
house?
like look off to the side. There are children's voices being screamed outside my window. It is 10:30 at night. What the hell is?
Yell out your window and go, "Go to bed, kids."
We were in a tornado warning 30 minutes ago. What the?
We want to see if we can
Maybe they
see the
just
tornado.
Tesla's shatterproof cars, anything but. And the Skywalker saga ends.
Thankfully.
3 movies too late.
Wow.
And I'm talking about the prequels, my friends. That is, I know I said all of the news, but we definitely end on Star Wars.
So, Lucas, tell us what was better at the box office than Star Wars.
Okay. Well, I've got some middling news for you, I think. Top 3 grossing
Like
horror
Star
movies,
Wars.
2019.
Oh. Don't offend me.
You're gonna offend a lot of people.
Hey, I'm willing to take it on. I was so let down. I was like, you guys have got to be kidding me.
I liked it.
People make fun of me for liking horror movies and the endings that they've got, and I'm going to set up. This is what I've got for the greatest franchise in movies history. Star Wars. Come on.
Let's not alienate our audience and me.
Oof.
Number 3.
Come on, Lucas. You got to pick a side, man.
Yes.
I'd have to watch it again. At this point, I just let Star Wars wash over me, and I don't think too hard about it, which is kind of a sad place to be in. So I will give you.
I see you with like a bowl of popcorn, like big smile, big eyes. You're like, lasers.
What's the next cute animal they're going to make? Number 3. What?
Star Wars is for kids. Don't forget that.
That's true. That's true. Oh, how we forget. Number 3, speaking of for kids, The Addams Family animated remake. Horror, yeah. I mean, in the sense that they look spooky, I guess, for the 1950s.
Hey, I think The Addams Family is definitely horror.
Did you like the animated film? Did you see
Never
the
watched
animated
it.
film? Okay. I don't know how it did. Well, I mean, $100 million. I mean, it's an animated film.
I said I was going to.
Family films.
And I
okay.
didn't. Like, they have that Dracula movie too, right? With like Frankenstein and stuff. It's like a monsters thing.
Hotel.
Hotel
Yeah,
Transylvania.
I haven't seen that one either. And my kids tell me that they think it's awesome, and I still haven't seen it.
It's okay, actually. I watched it as kind of almost like a dare. The first two are a little bit better, but
Who dared you to watch Hotel Transylvania?
I watched it almost on a dare.
Yeah,
Playing spin the bottle or something. Like, what was
it
happening?
was somebody trying to convince us all
worst
that
spin the bottle ever. The bottle lands on Lucas. Okay, you
either kiss this hot chick or
on Pennsylvania.
oh, it's on DVD. You don't even have Blu-ray. Come on.
Look at that.
Guess we'll do the Blu-ray. The DVD. Addams Family, $100 million, 46 Metacritic score. What are you gonna do? Number 2, Us, $175 million, so $75 million more, 81 Metacritic, sitting up there with. Yep. And here it comes, the whammy. Number 1, It Chapter 2. $211.5 million, 58 Metascore.
I think that Metascore is too high. I really hated that movie.
I knew you hated it.
I didn't watch it because of how much you didn't like it.
I really did. I really did. I almost. The first one was so good. Even compared to the original, the first one was so good. I was all in. I was like, this is great. It's going to be so good. And I was there day one, tickets, everything. Wife was into it. I'm not even gonna lie. I tried to leave.
Wow.
Like in the movie, I was like, let's just go.
I feel like the original kind of like, I remember the first VHS tape, if you will, but then you got to put in the second VHS tape, and you're just like kind of checked out by that point. When they're adults, it's just not as compelling for some reason.
I think the acting and the cast was great. The story and it's the way they did it, and I don't know, it's just way out. I was way out. I was so let down. And it happens. I think if you're a horror fan, it's definitely happened to you. And we've all had the movies that hit, right? I just had one. Mm-hmm. I just paid $15 for a movie. Has amazing reviews, high Metacritic. Absolutely hated it. Absolutely. And I think it makes me feel like a bad person to tell other people I hated it, but I totally hated it. It's the only feeling I had when the movie ended. I was like, well, I wish I didn't pay money for that, and I wish I didn't spend time doing this. I regret this entire decision. And that's kind of how I was with it. I was like, I regret this. I could have picked any other movie, and this was the one that I did.
It made you feel the wrong emotion.
But that happens in horror. There's a lot of misses in horror,
Yeah.
But did you guys like it?
I didn't see it because of your.
Oh yeah, you said that. I'm sorry, Lucas.
I watched it at home, and I knew what to expect. So my expectations were, the blow was softened, as it were. It was okay. Like if the first movie was like this, I don't think they would have made a second one. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't know. There's just something about it. It had some scenes, there were a few scenes like, okay, this is kind of spooky or whatever, but
kind of lessens how good the first one was. The fact they even did it, you just leave it alone. You did it, you nailed it, move on.
Yeah, never touch it again. Yeah, yeah, exactly. So yeah, I do believe it was a letdown as well. So I'm there with you. I didn't hate it, but I didn't have much stake in it anyway. So it's just
I feel bad. I wish I could. It's iconic. It's an iconic character. I wish I could tell you I loved it, but I really didn't. Okay. So I said,
what did we love?
So I said at the top of the show, and I said in the last show, I only have 2 movies. I've got a lot here that I like. So I want to talk about, I'm going to pick one, and I'm going to tell you the one I didn't pick, because I'm sure you guys have it on one of your lists.
Oh, that's a bold statement.
What was in consideration for number 3 for me was Us.
Oh, didn't even make my top 3.
Did it?
No, I did not.
It's number 2 for you.
Number 2 for me.
So I'll withhold comments until you get to your number 2 then.
Okay.
I'll withhold comments on Us until we get there, and I'll explain why it was eventually replaced. So I'm going to go with a movie that I just watched this week from 2019 that goes up, and it might be recency bias, but I don't think so. And this is a cool little thriller that I would recommend to both of you called Harpoon. Have either of you seen Harpoon?
That's a local brewery, but I haven't seen the film.
I have not seen it either.
Well then, Justin, if you're still listening, I'm going to avoid spoiling it for you two. Because it's something that I think is best watched without you knowing, because it's a thriller. And so it's not uncommon premise. You have these folks, they go out on a boat, the boat breaks down, there is a squabble, and then they are forced to survive, and they survive. This is not a...
You're thinking of Open Water, Donnie.
Yeah, sort of, but not. This is a pretty gross movie. Just up there. It's not the goriest thing I've ever seen, but it's pretty gross. So if you've got wives or friends that are squeamish, not a good recommendation.
I call those spaghetti movies. They're the movies you don't want to eat spaghetti while.
That's a great way of describing it. You do not want to eat spaghetti while you watch this. The thriller twisty parts, Josh, are good. They're good.
I like good parts.
Yeah, they're good. It's kind of fun. And I just think it does what it's doing really, really well. So I'm going to be all hipster and trendy, and I'm going to pick that over the giant blockbuster follow-up that was Us. And I will reserve telling you why until we get to Lucas's second pick.
Okay.
Ugh, this trailer.
Oh, it's good. It's good. It's definitely a watch. And I think you can watch it. You know, who told us that we should be putting in...
Sean asked if we could say where we watch these movies, and I completely skipped over that for the last episode.
I was doing it too. I was hoping me doing it would kick your brain into doing it too.
I think you can watch this for free on like
YouTube.
Tubi.
Tubi.
I wanna say on
Tubi.
Tubi. And I know
With
it's on
ads.
I know it's on Showtime. So you can watch on
tell you.
Showtime if you have that subscription, or
I
you
don't
get
know
like
which one's worse.
you get one of
You can
those
watch
trials.
Yeah, it's on Showtime.
I rented it.
You can rent it for $2.99 on Vudu.
I feel
That's
like
not bad. I'd
is
rather
that
just
like
run it.
snobby just to be like I rented it? Like I just paid,
No, not at all.
just paid $2.99 to Xbox so I can just
No,
watch
because
it.
you paid $14 for a movie you didn't like. So
Oh.
Yeah.
I bought
Clearly
it.
you have
I
no-
bought the movie that I didn't like.
Ooh.
I've got 30% of those movies in my library or that.
there you go. They can't all be winners, Donnie.
Hey, do you guys, that's a good little segue before we get to one of your number threes. Do you guys do that? Do you like take chances on movies that you're interested in, or do you like rent before you buy?
Donnie, before the start of last year, I owned 2,500 DVDs. I buy movies all the time.
So do
that
I.
I've never seen.
Yep.
I always risk it because I've always been pretty good at finding something that I've enjoyed in movies. There's like very few movies that I like detest, like that I hate. Even just for like collection stuff. Like I enjoy that. So like,
My threshold for horror is really, really low. Basically, if anybody's like, if I see a tweet that recommends it, if I see a list that recommends
I
it,
gotta buy that.
if there's something, a top 10 list that it's on, I'll totally just, and I think it's different with video games, completely different with video games. When video games, I learn everything I can about a game and I think it's just, video games are $60.
yeah, it's
You
a
know,
big difference.
movies $10. You know, like $14 and I hated it and I wish I didn't buy it, but it's $14.
I have a problem with digital ones, right? Like I don't feel good about risking on digital because it's not tangible to me. You know,
That makes
like
sense.
I bought Mandy, right? I showed you guys I bought Mandy at
Yeah.
Walmart. Right? I still haven't watched it, but I know that I have it, right?
Yep.
And I can
You
watch
can
it.
physically see it's there.
Yes, and I have the problem. I don't buy random movies as much anymore if they're digital.
All right, so
Physical, yeah.
let me raise you then, and you guys tell me how crazy this is. I typically go, so here's what I do. I typically rent if I can, and then if I love it, I'll buy it. But a lot of times, like new releases, you can't rent them. You've got to buy them for extended periods of time. So there are at least 12 or 20 movies that I've rented, loved, and then bought a Blu-ray copy. Is that crazy?
No. If you
No,
want-
not at
want
all.
to- like you put up your shelf, right? And your
Yeah.
house, like horror movies, like that's the perfect example.
Like if I
of
rent a
why-
movie and I love it, I'm like, oh, I've got to get this and put it on the shelf.
Yeah, no, I
Yeah,
100% agree with you.
I think you're talking to some people who would agree that that's fairly normal for movie lovers. If you were to ask people who weren't, like I'm sure some of our listeners who aren't as well versed in horror are going to be like, why would you pay twice for a movie? You've already
Okay.
seen it. Like, why do you need to go back?
Harpoon
But-
is that movie. Harpoon is one of those movies. I'm putting it on a shelf. It's shelf worthy for me.
Well, and if you're interested in like the special features, learning how a movie was made, like that stuff can be just as valuable as renting
Sometimes
it and
it's
not
better
paying
than
as much
the-
money.
Oh, dude, guys.
Yeah, exactly.
Forgot to mention, we're recording, what's today's date? The 10th?
Sure.
So I got the Friday the 13th collection. Dude, I already own all those movies.
Yes.
But that collection, like, I couldn't bypass that box. Buying that for the
So
box
good.
alone, it's going to look so good on the shelf. Now, here's the problem. I have no idea on the shelf where it's going to go. The shelf is pretty full.
On top of it.
I'm going to have to move some stuff around. But yeah, I was absolutely, and to your point, the reason I wanted to bring that up, Lucas, is that the reason I bought the collection, there's like 10 hours of special features interviews that have never been done before. And I was
Yeah,
like,
I
oh, I want to
bet.
watch all of that. So, yeah. Do you watch special features before or after you see the film?
After.
Okay.
Spoilers.
I do the same, but I have this thing where I always feel like I forget. I actually I think I
immediately start like when the movie's done. I immediately watch the special features.
do you ever feel like you've been watching TV too long? I feel like that's
course.
my thing. Like I'll watch the movie and it's like, well, it's time for bed, and then I'd never
Gotta
get
get up.
back to it.
Yeah.
So I feel like I
Just
watch
watch
special features like on their own more than I do after the movie.
I do that too. I'll watch them separately sometimes. I might check out one or two things. What I never do get back to is playing the commentary, like watching the
Yeah.
movie with the commentary.
Yeah, I
on.
never do that either. I don't like
I-
doing that to begin with.
Sometimes I want to, just especially if you can, like if the commentary is good and you can get into the head of like what they were thinking or breaking down how they did something. But
I'd
a lot
almost
of the
rather have that in like podcast form.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I don't want to sit down and be tied to the television a second time and not have a filmic experience, because it is really just a podcast
Yeah.
to the video.
I'd much rather just listen to do a podcast. And we're going to do our wrap-up show, and we already had some comments, so we're going to do like some series, and I'm going to weave in some podcasts and stuff like that, maybe some documentaries and stuff, so I'm looking forward to that. And if you guys have anything you want to do for our wrap-up show, like we're starting to plan what that could be. We might do it live, so you can like watch and interact with us while we're doing it, but definitely if you've
Fuck
got
it, we'll
topics
do
and
it
things like that,
live.
we can do it. I like that. Yeah. Do it live. Lucas,
I don't know. Yeah.
number 3.
Sure. I feel like I'm going to get some flack for this. In fact, we were
Yes.
just talking about this
Uh-oh.
before we started recording.
Let's get him.
Josh and I. What's that?
I said we're gonna get you.
You're gonna got him. Number 3, The Lighthouse.
Oh,
Now,
it's good.
Josh was asking me if this was horror, and
It's a good question.
it is very light. I told him it was more psychological horror in the sense that it's like a devolving into madness type of thing.
There's a mermaid.
And yeah, there is. There's some messed up imagery for sure, and there's some surreal feelings. It's filmed in black and white. There's a real feeling of desolation and isolation, which there should be when you're on a lighthouse island or whatever.
Kind of has like a psychological Fight Club thing going on. At least when I was watching it, I was like, is this real?
yeah, you're wondering, is some of this real? And honestly, that is what kind of arrested me into watching this in its entirety. Was just like finding out where this was going to go, because you have two guys
Great actors.
played by a couple of amazing actors. Watch me flail about for their names: William Dafoe and Robert Pattinson. Batman. And they basically play the old sea dog, or the old lighthouse keeper who's been doing this for years and years and years, and the sort of younger newcomer who has gone from job to job and doesn't really know anything about keeping a lighthouse. And so he's really, to put it plainly, he's William Dafoe's bitch and does whatever he tells him to do.
Yep.
But as you go along, you start to learn about the characters, but you also start to learn about the old man, and he don't seem right. Seems like he's keeping secrets. You're often shown this movie from Pattinson's point of view, and so you're very distrustful of this guy. He's kind of a a-hole, to be honest with you. He's a very
It's old
rough
school.
guy. Yeah, very old school, like old school. It's 1890s, so you know, it's he's very much a tough dude to be around. But these two lighthouse keepers, they basically are trying to stay sane while they live on this remote New England island where this lighthouse is, and they are
Because they didn't leave in time, right? There's a storm coming and they didn't leave in time, so they've got to weather the storm.
Right. They were supposed to be there for like 30 days, we'll say. I don't remember the exact timing, but then a storm rolls in after things are getting like starting to get rough anyways. And then they're left to stay there for even longer because both characters kind of, you get this feeling that they're ready to be done with their shift, as it were. But then you start to question throughout the movie how long they've really even been there. Time starts to become irrelevant. There's no actual, if I remember correctly, there, or at least it runs away from them, telling of time at all. Like, you don't know how long they've really been there. You're just basing it off from they think they're ready to go. And then even the movie has you wondering if they've actually been there as long as they say they have, if they've been there longer. They've been there like 3 times as long and don't even realize it. And it just devolves into this crazy madness of distrust and brotherly camaraderie because they're both kind of in the same position, but then they start like fighting each other and distrusting one another again. And I don't know, it's a very strong character piece that takes place in one place basically.
Yep.
And it just was memorable from the fact that it's another one of those movies where I got caught up in just what was happening. Like, I needed to see it through. I felt like I'm like, this is getting nuts. And if I stop this now, it won't have the same impact. And you really do feel like you're in this weird journey with these two guys, like a fly on the wall, watching both of them just kind of fall to shambles and seeing like Donnie said, like there's a mermaid randomly and you're just like, is this really happening? Like, what's going on? All sorts of scenes like that just kind of creep up on you and make you kind of feel that sense of dread. Like, what is going on? Like, is this going to get crazy? And it does. It does.
We're going to have the what is an RPG talk.
Yeah. Right.
I was just going to say, it's a fair question to ask. I think this is every bit considered horror, even though it definitely has... It's like video games. I mean, I think we can all attribute that. Like, movies have multiple genres. Nothing is just one thing. Even like the most horror of horror movies, they're not just horror movies. So we've seen this premise in movies plenty of times, like Donner parties and things like that of two people. It's playing on human trust and distrust and how vile in extreme situations that can make people, right? And that's totally horrific. So I would 100% call it that.
I don't want to forget to mention that it's also directed by Robert Eggers, who did The Witch as well. So if you didn't like
true.
The Witch, then you probably won't like The Lighthouse. I would say The Lighthouse is harder of a sell than The Witch if you're looking for horror.
I would agree with that. Okay. I was waiting for you to qualify that because there's a part of me that wants to recommend it because I actually think Defoe just crushes it and he's hilarious. It's very entertaining just to kind of watch these two people go at each other.
It is. If you're not into like character study type movies where you really learn about two people in a room, because like you said, there's plenty of movies where it's just people in a room and you learn about people and their relationships. It sounds boring, but it isn't because of the events that surround them, and just their acting really just brings it.
But you can think we saw similar things in like Train to Busan, Devil, The Mist. Anytime you get people in a very stressful situation with survival on the line, how far would you go? Like, that's a thing that's been in horror since horror has been horror. So,
right. It really does. Even though, I mean, the black and white helps, it does feel like more of a classic horror movie that would be out of like the 60s or 70s.
Yep, I would agree with that.
But it does have that sense of creeping dread, and I really enjoyed it. And if you do want to check it out, it is on Prime right now. The Lighthouse. Really enjoyed it.
Josh.
Nice. My number 3 is a movie that is directed by someone who directed one of Donnie's picks, Southbound.
Ooh.
That is Ready or Not.
Ooh, like it.
Ready or Not, starring Samara Weaving, becoming this like horror darling.
She's the best.
This is a movie where it definitely has horror themes throughout, but really cements itself in horror at the end. To a very surprising fashion, I would say. There's always like this like looming thought. You don't really know what's going on.
It's kind
if
of
these people
Cabin
are
in the
crazy.
Woodsy.
Yes,
But
there's
not even
definitely-
that horror, because even Cabin in the Woodsy at the funniest moments in the beginning
Yeah.
have horror characters. So you can like
Yes.
place it as horror because there's like the monsters and the family and stuff. So you're like, it's definitely horror. This isn't really that because the people are just people.
This is a house full of terrible people.
Yeah.
Lucas, have you seen this one?
No, it was on my need to see
Oh,
list
nice.
before we.
It's on HBO Go Max, I think is where I watched it.
Oh, okay.
And now I'm forgetting if that is where I watched it or if it was on Vudu. No, it's on HBO Max. It's on my like to watch list.
Okay.
She marries into this family, a board game empire.
Yeah, that's what I was
So
waiting for.
It fits right in with board of video games. And she marries the son of this father. His father inherited from his father, etc. And the family doesn't fond of her necessarily. They don't love her. And I got to pull up the mother's name. So Andy McDowell plays the main character's co-main character's mother. Adam Brody from the OC and other things is in it. Most people don't like her. You get the feeling, right? She's not like welcome, at least not with open arms. They are getting married on the property of this huge mansion, and things just kind of seem odd. Even her husband gives her an out before they get married. Like, I'm giving you the chance. Let's just run away now. Like, I don't want
sure?
to do this. So she says, yeah. So they do. So, they have this thing at night. At midnight, they are going to play a game, and this is how you're welcomed into the family. And she thinks it's as weird as we think it would be.
Yeah, that was
She's like,
my
"Wait,
reaction.
What do you mean? Like, I just play checkers and I'm in the family?" And he's like, "Yeah, kind of, sort of." And they use this like magic 8-ball Ouija style box, like if a Ouija and an 8-ball had a baby, and it's like handed down from like the grandfather, and it will tell you what game you're gonna play. And it passes. It's very bizarre. I don't want to spoil this one since you haven't seen it, because I think you would really like it.
Spoil it.
Okay.
The hell with
they
Justin.
Find out they have to play hide and seek, right? Well, Lucas hasn't seen it. I don't care about Justin. They have to play hide and seek, and
To be honest with you, and I'm just being antagonistic, so I'm not. Don't run with this because I'm saying it. Lucas, if you watch the trailer of this film, it
you
would
get that?
spoil it.
Well, then I would just be mad at the trailer because I hate that in trailers anyway.
I mean, the premise of it is just out there. I mean, it's
so some of the people, his brother is already married, so his wife is there. Nobody likes his wife, but she turns out to be just like inherently a psychopath. Like nobody knew.
Unlikable anyway.
no, it's kind of in a good way.
She had to play
okay.
And
she had to
entertaining.
play,
Like, you don't like her, but it's entertaining as hell.
Yeah, she had to play like a regular game. Like she had to play like Shoots and Ladders or something.
So hang on, can I interrupt?
Yes.
Lucas, here's the pitch, right? The elevator pitch.
Okay.
They randomly select a game. It's tradition. You've got to do it.
Okay.
If they pick the wrong game, then the family hunts the person.
There's
or
only one game.
or you could end up just playing checkers.
Yes.
And just so happens to know that it lands on the wrong game for Samara Weaving, and they start pulling out crossbows and shit.
So it's hide and seek. It's the only game out of the category of games that is where you kill somebody. But the
Okay.
thing is, what they say is like, hey, listen, if we don't play this game, we will all die. And
Yep.
you're like,
There's a
"What
whole
do you
curse and a
mean
lore and everything.
You
Like,
will all die." And then, that's the running thing, right? This whole family,
that's the best part of the movie.
children, wives, husbands, aunts, uncles, whatever. They're like,
Grandma.
they all believe if they do not play hide and seek and kill her, they will all die. And you don't really know why they believe this, except it's like folklore. They're
Okay,
like,
so
hey,
you-
didn't you hear about the Robinsons? Their house went up in flames the night after they decided not to do whatever. And then you're like, well, maybe they just had a house fire. Like, so that's they're leading their drive to do it. They don't
Gotcha.
necessarily want to do this. The box tells them what game to play. I mean, there's people that want to do it,
Mhm.
and they're the psychopaths.
And
but
they're
there's
fun.
Actually, like,
They're a lot of fun.
people that don't want to do it. There's a lot of surprises, a lot of twists and turns. There's two big surprises, I would say.
So does the family kind of pair off or sort of
Yeah.
each individually, and you kind of
They
learn a
all
little
run
bit
through
more about
rooms
them?
and stuff, and they all start
Yeah,
doing their
kind of,
thing.
sort of like she thinks she's
kind of like
just
Clue.
hiding. She doesn't even
That's what-
know.
yeah.
Yeah, it does have a Clue feel.
Okay,
She thinks
yeah.
she's just hiding. Like, she hides in the dumbwaiter, and she's like, how long do I have to be in here? This is stupid. And then she
Mm-hmm.
gets out, and then she sees someone with a crossbow. She's like, what?
And then
They
it
try to kill her.
changes. Yeah.
Okay,
So
cool.
then the movie changes, and then that's the pacing of the movie for the most part. And then the end, there's a couple twists and turns which are very enjoyable
Yes.
and fun.
Yes.
And
The ending is great.
This was a movie I wanted to see for a while, and another one where I was surprised at how much I liked it. This could easily be in my number 2. It wouldn't be my number 1 for this year, but
That's
It's a
interesting.
really fun movie.
This was,
Uh,
I would agree with that. This was one of the handful that I had picked that I could have totally chose for number 3. I do love this movie. I would agree with you. I think it's shelf worthy. I think this movie does its premise, but I don't think it does more than that. And I think that's why I went away from it. Like, not that everything has to. I didn't find it all that overly surprising. And it's just kind of
I think the ending really delivered on the
that
whole.
the ending is good, but like the whole movie is just kind of, I don't want to say one note. It just kind of is what it is. Fun is a great way of putting it. That's a nice positive bow to put on it. It is super fun. Just don't expect like a your next change or anything like that. When I was
No.
kind of going into it, that's kind of where my head was, and it never like
get
kind of got out of there. So I wouldn't take anything away from it. But Samara Weaving, as we've talked about in plenty of times in this podcast already, one, she's great just on her own. She's
Yep.
exponentially great when she's in horror, and in this movie she kind of has her iconic look where she's just infinitely cool. She's in a wedding
And she's
dress
done with it.
with like
She's done with it for the whole movie.
freaking Converse and stuff. Like, she's so
Yeah.
cool in this like rebellious bride thing that she's got, which totally works for her. So
It's so good.
I'm not gonna like take pot shots at Samara Weaving for anything. She's amazing. I want her to be the final girl and everything. She's awesome.
Yeah, she's great. Good film. Great film. Fun. And you still get your blood and gore.
Yeah, you
How
do.
can you not beat
Nice. Nice.
You got to watch it, Lucas. All right, so here's the thing,
I was gonna
Lucas.
say I'm adding it to the list.
Southbound, Harpoon, Ready or Not. I'm going to put this down on my list. When we do our wrap-up show, especially Harpoon, because I don't want to spoil it with you guys, we need to talk about those movies. Southbound, Harpoon, Ready or Not.
Let me make sure I have Southbound on my list. Yes, I do. Okay. Cool.
For sure.
Number 2, Donnie.
Okay, number 2 is a movie that I love, which I'm pretty sure is not on either of your lists.
Ooh,
I actually don't
challenge.
think I don't think Lucas liked it at all. This movie is directed by Lee Cronin. It's the only movie he's directed, but he is directing Evil Dead Rise. Josh.
Yes, I've been following this.
This movie is called The Hole in the Ground. It is an Irish horror tale that I absolutely adored and loved. And one of the few movies that I would say, well, I won't say it because I was going to say made me uncomfortable. That's not true. Like, The killing a sacred deer made me very uncomfortable, and this movie didn't go there. This movie had a scene that hit me on a level that very few scary movies did, and I think I'm almost always remember it for that. I know Lucas has seen it, but Josh, have you seen it?
No, I'm actually watching the trailer as you speak.
You can watch this movie for free on Amazon Prime, Sean Capri, and I would wholly recommend this movie to anybody, especially if you like The Omen or The Shining, which is kind of
wholly recommend it.
I would wholly recommend it. This is kind of where this movie is. I would kind of put it in the vein of The Omen or The Shining, with maybe just slightly more supernatural flair than The Omen, and definitely much less fantastical than The Shining. This movie is about a kid. It is A24 who continue to deliver on the best ways. This is a slow burn, which is why I was actually kind of surprised that Lucas didn't like it as much. When I first watched this, I thought this would be down his alley. It's a very slow burn. It is like The Omen or The Prodigy, if you guys have seen that one with Taylor Schilling and stuff like that. It's about a mom who suspects there's something quite not right with her son. With the exception that, unlike those movies, right, where it's like the son of Damien, the son of the devil, or like The Prodigy, like it's like very calculated. Her son just kind of wandered off into the woods one day and came back, and he's weird. Like some stuff's going on, and it is a long way to the unveiling. So if you were critical of like, hey, it just takes too long to develop, I would understand that. I think it's fair criticism to make because it is a long way. It's kind of, to even say it's the third act, I think might be misleading. It's maybe like the fourth or fifth act before it really like turns and starts heading down where it's going. But if you like that slow design, that slow build and kind of layered in, they do it. Some strange things happen. It's Irish, which I do like about it actually, because it's foreign. The people are slightly odd. They're slightly weird. There's some things that happen with teachers and neighbors, and you're like, what the hell is going on? The things
and
are different. I'm sorry?
And spiders?
Oh, yeah. And so I don't want to spoil it from anybody, although I did tell Justin, so I'll tell you this. I mean, obviously, if you've listened this long in the podcast, you know that we spoil movies. It's hard to talk about movies that you love without telling you the reasons why, and it's hard to tell you the reasons why without spoiling it. So I'm going to just go out on the limb and say, look, if you don't like spoilers, this ain't the show for you. I'm sorry. Like, go watch the movies and come back. I don't know what to do.
Too late for you people.
Yeah, it is too late. So there's a part in this movie, Josh, where the son turns on the mom.
Yeah.
And that seldom happens in movies like The Omen and The Prodigy and The Shining. And that hit me hard. The way it's shot, and it is one of those scenes where it's left open to interpretation. You hear what's happening, but you don't see what's happening. And I'm not going to lie to you. I'll never forget that scene. That scene hit me in a way that very few scenes, I think, in a horror movie have, where I really felt that one. And I was like, oh, shit, like, this is serious. And I felt sympathy and empathy for what was happening. And I think that's why I like this movie so much. And then it turns into, like, the very final act goes a little wonky. I like it. I think it has, like, some folklore thing. I'm not sure. I think I've never studied like the history of what's going on, but I think it's like some sort of Irish folklore that is based on. But I loved it. I do. I love this movie. It's I love it more than my third pick and the other picks in this and Us and stuff like that. So one of my favorites. You can watch it on Prime for free. I would recommend it to anybody. The Hole in the Ground. Shelf worthy. Definitely shelf worthy.
Sometimes I think I watch a movie and maybe I forced it, or like I wasn't in the mood for it.
Or if somebody like me came along and told you how much they loved it and you were expecting it to be amazing.
I was like, oh, this guy, he doesn't like anything.
I got to rewatch Biodome.
No, I don't know. It just wasn't doing anything for me. And so it makes me curious if I go back, because honestly, I really don't remember that much about watching it. And that usually is a signifier to me that like,
do you remember the people's head? Do you remember the people's head in the ground? Because I thought that was fucking cool and very original.
No.
Then maybe rewatch it.
Yeah, I watched the trailer and like that helped me, but a lot of it I didn't remember, so I would be willing to watch it again just to see if my thoughts on it changed at all.
Listeners, we're going to do our wrap-up show and we're going to do it live. And here's what I will say. I would love to hear from anybody else that loves this movie. because to be honest with you, I think I've only ever recommended it to Lucas. I think Lucas is the only other person I know that's ever watched it.
I think Jason has seen it and he liked it too.
I don't think I've ever met anybody that was like,
sure.
I love this movie. But my wife and I both, and maybe that might be like a bias connection that I had while we were watching that maybe set it over the top. My wife also loved this movie. Like I remember watching it with her and we were captivated by what we were in. We were into it. And I remember that scene. Again, that scene, I was like, this is terrifying. Like I'm terrified right now. And she was like, yeah, this is really scary. But she also loves killer kid movies. Like the whole Omen, Shining, like she is all into that. Like anytime children's turn on moms, instant interest on her side. So maybe that played into something. I have not rewatched it either, so maybe I will rewatch it. Maybe I don't like it as much as I did, but this is one of those. I think we all have this, right? I think we all have these movies that we've seen that are like lesser known that we love to recommend to other people. The Hole in the Ground is right there with like The Descent, where I'm like, you have got to watch this movie. It's great, you know. So I really love it.
Nice.
Cool.
Lucas, let's talk about Us.
Yeah. Now, see, I may be rethinking my order here.
Ooh.
I might have put Us at 3 because I wrote this this list when I was kind of writing out. Okay, here's all the movies I definitely have seen again, and so I think I had put the list in order very early on and then didn't touch it for a while. So I'm kind of wondering, I don't know, like going back.
Can I tell you why I dropped it?
Us, yeah, sure.
I rewatched it. Here's the thing about Us. I love this movie. Definitely love this movie. In a lot of ways, I think I love it more than Get Out. You know, as a horror fan, for sure.
Wow.
Here's the thing, though. I love this movie for the acting and the roles and the action. I hate this movie for the story and what it doesn't do. And rewatching it, like I kept wrestling with it because I was like, I felt the same way the first time I watched it. And I felt the same way the second time I watched it. I listened to a podcast with Jordan Spiel explaining it. Still kind of felt the same way. I started reading up all the reasons why it was cool and all the lore and all the things I didn't get. Still kind of actually reading an explanation from a reviewer about all this stuff that was happening with the corporation and clones made me more upset that the movie doesn't make that more clear. I was like, this makes it worse because it's so cool, but it's so untouched and left unexplained. And Josh, remember we were talking about a couple movies ago, I was telling you about like this killing a sacred deer.
Yeah.
It's not that I'm the open denouement, right? Where you don't have that happy close bow ending. That doesn't bother me. I'm fine to be left wanting more. But when you don't give me motive or explain reasons why things are happening, then I feel like I question them more and I find a harder time believing into, even if they're completely ridiculous and supernatural. I know exactly why Nick Cage was killing folks in Mandy. Like I get it, right? Without that part, I don't know, like it takes me out of the movie because I feel like I'm constantly wondering what's going on. Like I'm looking for that. Why? What's the deal here? So I love Us. The characters, super creepy. The home invasion stranger stuff, right down my alley. The kill scenes, especially that second family, fucking awesome. The scissors, amazing. Like I love the imagery of this movie, great. Even the underlying conspiracy, amazing premise. Like The Purge, an amazing premise that they never take where I want it to go, which leaves me with this bittersweet, empty kind of feeling. And I wrestled with this up until we started recording. I wrestled with it the whole time. I was like, obviously Us is amazing. It's like one of the highest rated horror films ever. Tons of money, right? But it's like, I can't leave that off of my recommendation. Like if we're talking about this amongst us and friends and our listeners are hearing this, I can't not say that about the movie. And if I have all this, I don't know, resentment, if that's what we'll call it. If I have all this baggage with the movie, can it be my number 3? I don't think so.
Yeah, no, I completely understand. And it did, like, now that you say that and going back and talking about it, I don't want to like backpedal, I guess.
I don't mean to put you defensive. I was hoping if I set you up with my reasons why, you would tell me the reasons the other side.
Well, see, and that's the thing is, I actually do agree with some of your points. There's a lot of suspension of disbelief for this movie. There is a lot of, okay, like, how is this happening? A lot that needs to be explained.
Us needs a prequel.
Yeah, there, it really does. There needs to be more there, I think. But what it does well. I mean, like that intro sequence with the girl and just the cinematography and everything, like as a movie, it does really, really well. And I think that is partially why it gets such a high score. But the story, as you have said, is kind of it. Sometimes it feels like a series of scenes, or wouldn't it be cool if movie. I've seen there are some movies where they feel so disconnected. It's like, wouldn't it be cool if this happened? And then this happens, and it just leads down this path of just
the
cool
ending
scenes.
Of Us is fucking awesome. When they all like go and join hands and stuff, I love it. I think that's great. The only problem is they didn't explain why that's happening. It's not as awesome when you don't understand what the fuck's going on.
Right. And that's not the feeling you want to feel at the end of a movie. So I get that.
Thus my hypocrisy on flip-flopping back and forth of loving this movie that I also kind of don't like.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard for me to defend it, especially since I can't say that, like, I mean, there's a reason it's not my number one. And I think for a lot of other people, they might say that Us would be their number one over what is probably our number ones.
Isn't it the highest rated movie of the decade in the horror space?
I don't know.
I think I remember in my research, I think I read somewhere that it was maybe at the time or even overall. I think it might be the highest rated horror. Like its Metacritic is like a 95 or something. It's like insanely high for a horror movie. You guys have heard us talk and tell people like, 48s and 65s, like it's in the 90s. It's through the roof.
It does have an 81 Metascore.
Oh, wow. So maybe it's come down since I
was going to say,
93% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Maybe that's what I was thinking of. It's really, the reception for this movie is
high.
Almost overwhelmingly positive. It's very glowing.
Number one based on the number of reviews.
There you go. Okay, there you go. So it's a very positively received movie, and I think it earns that. I don't demean your pick. I only bring my own personal reasons why I couldn't go with it. There are things that I feel like for me it held it back, but I love the movie. It's an amazing movie.
It definitely begs a rewatch from me, I think, and
it's a really, really smart movie. Jordan Peele might be too smart at times. Like his stuff might be too layered.
Right, like it seems like it might have needed to go through another script revision or something like that, because you don't want to give everything away in a story and have it too simple. You want people to feel like they are investigators and they're figuring things out, and they might think they know where it's going, and people like to do that. We naturally like to solve puzzles, but at the same time, if the pieces don't fit, then you're just left with frustration at the end. And if that's the way that Us makes you feel, then I could totally understand. I think it might be a little bit derisive in that aspect. It might be another you either love it or you hate it movie. But I think it's tough because, like I said, as a movie, it does really, really, really well.
I love the final turn. It's great. Like when you kind of figure it out, like that one kind of hint, I was like, oh, that's good. And the funny thing about that is when I watched it, I didn't expect that that was happening. Like what happened. I didn't expect that. But at the same time, it's like almost abundantly clear at the beginning that that's what happened.
Yeah.
It's like it's right there in your face, but I wasn't there. Like with the whole movie and everything that was going on, I wasn't there. And that goes to show like how he kind of retcons the characters, like the underworld characters when they come up. You don't make that translation that these two things could have happened, but they did.
No,
and that's cool. True. That's super cool.
And it's the way that the others are presented to you. You're like so worried, like, what are these people? What's going on? Like it wouldn't ever. I mean, it never crossed my mind. I was just here for the ride.
But when you rethink about it, right?
Yeah.
You're like, it's right there. It's literally right there.
Yeah. It's,
I almost felt dumb when I got to the end. It's like, dude, I'm stupid.
I mean, it's another one of those familial stories, and they always get me whenever I see a family come together and fight for each other. You know, that always pulls at my heartstrings. So maybe that's a little bit of my own bias, because I've said it before on the show that I do like those stories.
Well, that's we all bring that to horror. When you were a kid, you were scared of movies that had kids in them.
Yeah, exactly.
And when you're an adult, you're scared of parents in peril. Josh, you have made some faces, so let me segue you into giving some opinions here.
I didn't like it
At all?
I liked parts of it. I think I was overall disappointed. I think I went in maybe with too high expectations.
It was really hyped, really, really hyped.
And I just recently watched it. I didn't see it when it came out. I originally right away knew the twist, and then he somehow tricked me into thinking I was wrong.
That's the thing. No, exactly. That's the thing.
So I was like, oh wait, no, I must be wrong.
It's abundantly clear, but he almost, that's why I said retcon, because it's like, this happened. And you feel that. But then it's like 60 minutes of, no, it could never have happened. And it's like, oh, but it did.
But I didn't feel good about that. I didn't like that. I didn't think it was a good twist.
That's interesting.
I thought it was, I don't want to say...
cheap?
I thought it was lazy.
Yeah, I kind of, I do agree that I kind of preferred it the other way around, because then it does kind of cheapen the rest of it. Because then you feel like you're just being...
Because I almost felt like...
because you know that if you give that to the audience, they're going to feel this way. Like, you do that knowing.
I was almost proud or impressed. I was impressed that he did, and then he turned me on it. I was almost impressed that he pulled me over here and then pulled me all the way back. Like, that's why I said at the end I felt dumb. Like, that was my feeling at the end. I was like, what? How did this happen?
I didn't like the underground thing. It didn't make sense. It didn't play to the story.
Did you?
For me,
did you ever follow up? Did you ever like read into it? Like, do you know all of the stuff?
I know he did a bunch of interviews and really went into what the film means. But I didn't want to look into it.
Okay.
Because his experience in his storytelling is not how I like. It's for
can I
him.
Not that I want to explain it to you, but I mean, can I spoil some of it and like talk
yeah.
about it? All right, so like there's this government conspiracy where they make clones of us, and the biggest detachment like from reality is that we never understand why they're doing it. It's just that they have to, and it feels like this overthrow, like this we're gonna replace people type of conspiracy, but we don't know why. And then they just bail on it. So you have all these people in like this underground just lurking around, and they don't have education, and like, so it's very primitive. And then some of them start to find their way to the surface, and they start replacing the people that are there. And that's really it. The cool thing that I like about it is there is like the, again, I never get it, so I'm not sure if it's metaphor or simile or the right thing, but there is this like higher takeaway if you want to go there, that the underworld people, these clones, are representing like the worst of us, like the darker side, those thoughts that you have internally that you would never share publicly. So you kind of have like this face for the public persona, and then you have this person. If you were left to your own devices, and what would you do? And I guess that's kind of the play, or at least that was my takeaway. And from what I've learned, that's basically my take on it.
Sure, I'd prefer the bad side of you story than as to the clone not as intelligent or educated, because if that was the case, how did they decide to organize and to kill? Like,
and I think that's the beauty of this movie, is that you say that, and my thing is I'm the flip. I want to know why the conspiracy was happening. I want to know what the plan was. Like, that's the detachment that I don't have. It's like, I need to know.
That's interesting too, but for them to organize and have this motivation with the background that we know of them at the end. Like, it doesn't make sense.
Unless you flip-flop the person in the beginning, right? So that's the thing. They flip-flop.
But
so
one person can get a whole world. Like, they show the whole world. She's in one bunker.
In the land of the blind.
But they don't communicate. She's in a little tiny bunker under, like, the beach, and then they show people going global.
So that's the crazy thing. That's like basically the untouched, untalked about parts of this movie, or the things from a story perspective that I'm so intrigued and want to know more about. Like, I want a whole other movie about that.
And you know what? Like, I didn't want to say anything because, like, I like that.
Well, this is good.
No, I mean, I like that this is Lucas's number 2. And I like that people love this film because really what it means is it's opening more doors for filmmakers to get into horror. A genre that people are afraid to get into on the, I don't want to say on the level of cinema. Like, there's so many bad horror movies that it's
very artsy.
Counter argue, anyone could get into horror, right?
And it's smart.
Yeah.
But there's so many bad ones that people are afraid to get into horror because it's assumed that they're just cheesy, bad movies. So, like, Jordan Peele's really opening the door. Ari Aster's really opening the door for intelligent horror movies. This one just didn't hit for me, probably for a bunch of different reasons. But for the most part, timing and hype, I think, is really what kind of crushed it for me.
It's fair.
If I had to summarize it, like, in a generality.
What do you think the world would look like if this was Jordan Peele's first movie?
I think it would still be
I think it would have been middling.
But if you don't have the Get Out, like, hype behind you, people aren't going to be looking at it like this is going to be the next great horror film.
I would 100% agree with you. I think without Get Out, people wouldn't have taken the extra effort to try and analyze this movie in the way that they did. I think it would have been received completely differently. It would have been middling in reception. You would have had those fans of the genre that would have went out of their way to be like, this movie's amazing, but it wouldn't have been the overwhelming reception that it was because it wasn't coming in with that. Yeah, it wasn't coming in with that fanfare. People are almost predisposed to wanting to love it because of Get Out.
It's a good, like, Invasion of the Body Snatchers type of film.
I agree.
It just didn't hit for me. Like,
that's why I dropped it.
Appreciate it.
That's why I dropped it. So I want to ask you guys a question. I'm sorry. This is Lucas's pick, and I feel like I'm taking it over, and I'm sorry.
Oh no, I feel like I've said everything.
I just have opinions.
That's okay.
Opinions, man.
Let me ask you guys this then. I'll pose the question to both of you. Since it was delayed, what do you think he's going to do with Candyman? I'm hoping it's not like this. And I'm hoping it's not like Get Out. Not that I'm opposed to it being, like, cerebral. I'm totally okay with that. I just don't want it to be very interpretive.
I think it's going to be classic slasher.
I hope so. That's what I want. I want it to be
what we want.
That's what I want.
And I think he doesn't want to be too samey. You know what I mean? Like, you don't want these two movies to feel like extensions of each other.
Which is why he's doing Twilight Zone, because everyone is different from the other one.
I think that's good. I'm totally down with, like, using it as a way of making any sort of, like, social justice references or movements. That totally fits the Candyman world. It always kind of was that, so I wouldn't be opposed to that at all.
Yeah.
But I don't want it to be, like, a very complex, left open interpretive type of thing. I'm actually, there was a part of me that was almost concerned. I was like, not ruin, but, like, don't change Candyman. I love Candyman. I don't know about you guys. What do you guys think of the series?
I mean, I grew up with it, right? I think with this one, we're still going to get Jordan Peele, right? So we're probably going to get way more backstory on Candyman.
I kind of want it to be modern. Not like this happened in 1850, so now it's happening now. I kind of want it to be like a timepiece of, like, modern time creating this Candyman type figure in the same vein as the Candyman lore that we know. That's kind of where my head is anyway.
Yeah. Lucas, what do you think?
I've actually never seen Candyman. I am aware of it. of when it first came out, because I was pretty young at the time. But it's one of those, and I've come to realize this actually, that I have a very large hole of movies in the 90s, like the early 90s especially. If they weren't major like hits like Jurassic Park or something like that, I probably haven't seen it or heard of it because of the age that I was at that time.
Yeah, you just weren't doing it
because right, and then I didn't. It's not like I turned 16 and then I was like, all right, time to watch Candyman. You know what I mean? It just kind of
I got you.
Fell off the back of my mind, and so I never went back to it. But I would be willing to watch it. Like, it's one of those things where I'm like, now, I have some homework to do. I should probably go back and watch it, because like I said, I'm aware of it. I remember seeing the box in the video rental store, that type of thing.
Yeah.
So
do you love the Candyman like folklore? Like, don't say Candyman in the mirror.
Oh yeah. I mean,
you know all about that, and you haven't even seen the movie. Exactly.
Yep. On the playground.
My wife, I'm probably regurgitating. I'm sorry. My wife has never seen the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and she's never seen any Friday the 13th movie. She has also never seen Candyman. So when I am done, which is basically now, I'm basically watched all the 2020 movies that I think I can watch at the moment. So I think I'm good. When I'm done with research for the show, that's the plan. That's our Halloween plan. So basically, like, starting next week, we're doing Texas Chainsaw, Candyman, and Friday the 13th. And I am very excited for her to watch Candyman. I think Candyman is the best slasher movie to introduce the females. The character is iconic, and he's seductive and suave and smooth in a way that no other slasher character is. It's not like crude and Josh, help me with the words.
Freddy Krueger, 2 children.
Yeah, it's not like dismissive or crude or stereotypical. It's not that at all. It's smart, and Candyman is poetic.
Candyman from Final Destination. He's also Death. Tony Todd.
Fun fact for the show: wanted him to do our intro instead of the Crypt Keeper.
Don't diminish the Crypt Keeper.
Well, I don't want to diminish it, but Tony Todd, I was like, his voice is iconic. I want him. You know what the problem was? He's $150 more.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. Him as an actor, he lends that charisma to the characters he plays, and he's like that in anything he does. So I definitely agree with you. He's definitely more of the cool bad guy.
Are you concerned with a different casting?
No, not at all. I think
really?
The story is. I think they need to recast, just because Tony Todd's he's older, and you want to make if you're going to do a new Candyman, you want this person to be around.
Oh, of course. No, don't get me wrong. You have to recast if you're making it. I'm sorry. Let me rephrase. I see Candyman kind of in the same way that I think of Robert Englund. Tony Todd is Candyman.
Oh, yeah.
And there is a part of me that, like, if they don't nail it, I'm going to be like, oh, this isn't Candyman.
They don't worry about old people like us, though. They don't care that we remember.
I just meant from me, like...
Yeah. No, I agree with you on that. It might feel weird watching a different Candyman, for sure. But I think for a studio, that makes sense.
Lucas, I'd love for you to watch. I'd love to hear what you think.
Yeah.
I can't wait for my wife to see it. I think she's going to like it.
I was going to say, it won't fit in our review, but I might be able to watch it before then.
Watch along.
They're very different.
It would never happen.
They're very horrific death scenes, but Candyman always has like this charm to it. It's very different. It's
watching. He's like, that guy. He's handsome. I don't care what he does.
It's not that. You know what I'm trying to say, right?
I know what you're saying.
Like, it's not really. It's kind of horror, but not horror in a way.
Is it kind of like?
It's kind of romantic.
Is it kind of like American Psycho?
No.
No.
Sort of, but not. It's different.
I don't know what I can compare it to.
That's the thing. Candyman is very different.
It's been forever. Yes.
It's similar, like this person has a purpose and they don't care about anything else. So they're dedicated.
It's like if
to
Twilight was horror.
Okay.
Like he's almost.
Nobody watched Twilight, Donnie.
He's almost like haunting her out of love. And it's crazy, like the flip, like the premise of Candyman, I think it's perfect. It's great. Like, it's different. It's original. It's different. There's nothing like it. And I hate that sometimes, obviously, because the icons are icons, he just gets lopped into like slashers. You're like, oh, you got Chucky, Freddy, Candyman, and Jason.
Yeah.
He's so different from any of those folks. Like, it's not even close. Completely different thing.
No, I'll definitely
And
watch
that's
it.
Lucas is number 2.
I love that we've just gone on this tangent. This might be my new favorite episode that we've recorded. I think this is amazing. I hope the listeners tell us what they think
It's all the rum that you've had.
about the Us and Candyman. Hey, you might be right. It's the first rum I've had in a month. Like, hopefully this doesn't sound like a gibberish mess when I edit it.
We're gonna have to wait for the comments.
And
Josh.
we'll be waiting.
Numero dos.
I'm so surprised Velvet Buzzsaw didn't make your list, Lucas.
Oh my God! There's not enough time. I think we said everything we needed to say.
Yeah,
on,
if you want to
that
hear about Velvet
competition.
Buzzsaw, go listen to the episode I was on.
Oh.
Juxtaposed with Lucas.
Yeah, we crapped on that movie for like an hour and a half, 2 hours.
Notes.
Pretentious. That's all you need to know.
Pretentious should be the tagline for that movie. My number 2 is a movie that I think Donnie at least was intending to watch. I don't know if you did. This movie is a Spanish film, and it is called The Platform.
I have not seen it. I will
wanna
put
see
it on
this.
my review. I don't think I have as many review recommendations from you as I've probably given you to others, so I want to put it on mine. I will commit to watching The Platform before our review show.
Let me talk about it before you commit to watching it.
Uh-oh.
The Platform.
So you're number 2.
No.
Well, The Platform is light horror. It's more horrific in what people go through
That's fine.
than
I'll
it
still watch it.
is.
We're okay
The
with
best
that
way
here.
I can describe it is a vertical Snowpiercer meets Cube. Did you ever watch Cube?
Nope.
Yeah. Yes.
I've never
Okay,
watched
so-
Cube or Snowpiercer for that matter.
That's surprising. Wow.
Oh, okay. Well, you should watch both of those movies too. At
Right
least
now.
Cube is horror. Snowpiercer is not horror.
The Cube. Snowpiercer. I thought Snowpiercer was a TV show.
It is now based on the movie.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Yes, Chris Evans is in the film, and Jennifer Connelly is in the TV show.
It's way better than it has any right to be.
Really?
It is incredible.
I feel like.
Ooh.
But the Cube is actually horror, and Snowpiercer is not horror.
That's also, I
Yeah.
thought it was like a sci-fi. I thought Snowpiercer was like a Hunger Games type of thing.
It is no, it's sci-fi.
What? The Cube?
It's Snowpiercer.
Snowpiercer.
Sci-fi society-driven.
I'm
kinda
taking you
Hunger
off your
Games.
point. It doesn't matter. Let's get back to
That's
the
okay.
platform.
So listen, The Platform.
I've heard a
I
lot
watched
about this
it-
movie, by the
I
way.
watched it on Netflix.
Comes highly recommended.
You do have to change it to English
Yeah.
subtitles and get off that dubbing because no.
Oh,
If you
no
hear the
dub.
movie start in English, change it right away.
Oh, man.
Throw the remote at your TV.
So yes, The Platform. It's obvious, as I will say, that this is my number 2. I don't want to ruin it because you haven't seen it. So
I know the premise. I know the premise. It's like this.
premise
Hang on.
is
It's like this
this-
class like flip flop type of thing, right?
I mean, I don't know what you mean, but maybe
Social
tell me-
class.
No,
you-
no.
No?
It's I'll explain it to you. So, this guy, he ends up in
Government experiment program.
the Platform. He signed up willingly.
Yep.
He signed up to quit smoking. So they said, okay, you're gonna quit smoking, and this is how you're gonna do it. You're going to join our program for 3 months, and in 3 months, we promise you will not smoke anymore. Okay, so he signs up. Everyone who signs up for this program, they're allowed to bring one item in with them, anything they want. He picks
Cigarette.
Don Quixote, the book. It's like, I want to bring Don Quixote. So he signs up for this program. He wakes up in this room. I'm going to call it a cube because it makes sense story-wise. He wakes up clearly not knowing where he is. He's, as you would assume, drugged and wakes up there or put under like anesthesia or whatever. He wakes up and there's someone in the room with him. And it's a cement room, and in the middle of the room is a giant hole. Each room is numbered. I believe the first room that he is in is 74. I could be wrong. how this works is he is informed by his roommate, obviously, who says, "Hey, this is the story, and I'm gonna leave out like the eccentricities of it. You're in this room. You're here for a month. We're on number 74. That means 73 people eat before us on a lowering platform that is full of food. All like escargot, cake, wine.
That's what I was
all
thinking,
this
like with my maybe the social class thing I went too far with, but I was kind of thinking it's like this flip-flop mishmash of like the haves and the have-nots, right?
Kind of, yes, kind of,
Okay.
sort of. At the end of the month, everyone falls asleep. I'm doing quotes, you can't see it. Falls asleep, and they wake up in a different floor.
Yes.
So he is informed by this first guy, hey, listen, we're on 74. Like, we're not going to get a lot of food, if any food. And it might not be 74. They might have been like 47. I think it might have been like in the 40s. So like, this guy's, he's like, his roommate's eating right away. So they have a conversation. You find out this dude he's with, who you're going to be roommates with for the whole time you're there. His pick was a knife. He brought the Samurai Plus knife, which gets sharper as you cut it, which is what he learned on the infomercial when he bought it. So everyone who's in here, they bring an item with them. So the main character, he's with this older guy. And they're talking and they're like, well, like how many levels? And you look down and it's just a pit. There's people below him, there's people above him. And the new guy, he's trying to talk to people. And the older guy there, he's like, don't talk to them. Don't worry about it. They don't want to talk to you. They treat each other terribly.
Yep.
Like this guy, he eats and then he spits on the food as it's going down, or he pisses down. And the people won't answer him above or below. It is like a social class thing, right?
How gross or spaghetti is this movie? Because that's a big reason why I haven't watched it yet.
Okay, so this is what I'll say.
I was expecting a human centipede type of thing.
It's not human centipede.
That's good.
But what does happen is the guy that he's with kind of tells him how many floors down he's been. And then he wakes up the second time on a very, 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 very low floor. And where's your only food source? It's your neighbor. And you're there for a month. And it gets worse.
That's what I meant by the social class. It's very much like pitting people against each other in like these extreme situations. Yeah.
So this movie does feature cannibalism. It is a relatively hard aspect, but they don't really
just like raw, right?
They don't glorify it. Like it's shown as a necessity, And
that's good. It's tasteful. Pardon the pun.
Pun intended. There are definitely some twists and turns and maybe surprise or two for you. A movie I was very surprised that I liked so much. It is intense. It is emotional. It is scary in a different way that we are used to talking about.
Sure.
Awesome film.
It comes up on most people's short lists. I wanted to watch it. I had the flu for 12 days, so I didn't watch a whole lot. This was definitely on my list. This is one of the movies I didn't get to. There are very few movies that recording this podcast I felt like I didn't get to, and this is one of them. There may be a handful of movies I'm like, damn, I really wish I watched that. And this was definitely highly recommended. So I'm eager. I'll watch it for the wrap-up show. I guarantee it.
Yeah, same here.
Great.
Okay.
Great.
We are at number 1, which, drum roll, is definitely Midsummer. I would like to lead the way.
True?
Yes, it is. Yes.
I would like to lead the way. 100% own the director's cut, the collector's edition, the A24 thing.
I'm so mad about that. Oh, gosh.
Did they never do like reprints or anything?
No.
Are you serious?
Yes.
Yeah, bask in the glory,
sucks.
Johnny.
I'm so sorry. If I had known that beforehand, I wouldn't have said anything.
Yeah, sure. You wouldn't.
No, I would not have. I'm so sorry.
Wait, you mean the one I have is so limited? It's not on sale
I'm
yet?
sorry. Hang on. I wanted to pull
what
up
it
my.
goes for on eBay.
I wanted to pull up my tweet. I watched this movie July 5th, 2019, which I believe was the day after it came out. Because it's a fun story. Not fun story, but it's a little anecdote. I was with the wife. I think we were without the kids. I think we sent the kids to in-laws, so we wanted to go to the movies, right? And we could watch one of two movies. We could watch Annabelle Creation or we could watch Midsummer. So I was like, all right, let's watch Annabelle Creation because my wife has done all the Conjuring stuff. So we watched that first. And then the second day, my wife couldn't go. She had to work, and I was on vacation. So I was like, oh, I'm going to go watch Midsummer, and I'll let you know how it is. And she goes, great. I went and watched Midsummer, and here was the tweet from the moment I got in my car when I left the theater. Midsummer is indispensable. Absolutely. Wonderfully pagan-themed horror that thrills the eye with both beautiful and grotesque imagery unlike anything else I've ever seen. The queer nature of everything that's going on demands your complete attention as a viewer, and the use of sound, including music and silence, is masterful. The best movie. Guys, the one thing that I always say, why are you laughing, Josh? I'm sorry.
I feel like that is like your college thesis. Like
it's like my pretentious movie review.
You're most proud of that tweet.
It was my best. Like I tried my best to give it everything I could.
I think it's great. I just think it's funny, like how like pointed you were. Like you were on a mission to.
I thought. So here's the thing that you're exactly right. Thank you for setting me up.
Yeah.
The thing that I wanted to say about this movie ever. It might be one of my favorite movies of all time. It might be my favorite horror movie of all time. I don't know. I've never actually sat down and tried to rank them. Often when people ask me, I always go with The Evil Dead because things we've already said in the podcast. But to be honest with you, the one thing that I can absolutely tell people, Midsummer is the best, my favorite, the most best favorite horror movie that I've ever had the chance to see the day it was released. And that is not close. There's nothing close to it. I've seen tons of horror movies that I love the day that they've been released. I was there for Halloween. I was there for the Dawn of the Dead remake. I saw the Evil Dead remake. You guys have already heard me talk about how much I love that and all kinds of things in between and everything since then. Midsummer's in a class of its own.
Yeah.
It's with Halloween. It's with the original Elm Street. It's with the original Child's Play. Like Midsummer is on the Rushmore of scary movies for Donnie Reese personally. I fucking love this movie.
I love your enthusiasm.
I've seen it 3 or 4 times. I have the director's cut. I don't think the director's cut is mandated viewing.
Yeah.
If you guys haven't seen it. I bought the director's cut. This is one of those movies. I saw it in the theater. I bought the director's cut on iTunes because it was exclusive to iTunes. I don't even have a fucking Apple device. I had to use my wife's phone, and I had to download iTunes on my computer and then hook my laptop up to the TV to watch the damn thing. And then when
the whole event on Discord,
and then when they released the actual director's cut I bought it instantly. I didn't even check what the price was. Didn't even care. I was like, "Yep, add to cart, purchase, PayPal now." I love this movie. For everything that my tweet just said, it's, in my opinion, and I'm sorry, Justin, in my opinion, it's masterful. And when I told you that I was going to be a stan and a shill for Ari Aster, because of Midsummer, I was blown away the fact that this movie was as terrifying and as horrifying as I thought it was in the fucking daylight. The whole movie is done in the middle of the day. You see all of it. And you remember, Josh, when we watched Hereditary, and I was telling you that he does a great job of making you feel what the characters are feeling? I didn't even look it up, Josh, because I didn't, like I said, I did no notes. Who's Florence Pugh, right? I just remembered her.
Yeah.
That moment where she's screaming in grief, I felt that. And I'm not even a girl. Like, there's no reason. Like, and I hated the fact that dude was being a dick. And when she sets him on fire, I was like, that's what he gets. Like, oh my God.
And because of the beginning of the movie, the way that they set up that relationship is so Like you really feel that she's kind of tied herself to this guy. And
You want
like,
out, right?
Yeah,
You
you
want
want
out
out.
of her
That's
relationship.
perfect, Josh. Yes. You want out. You're like, leave this jerk.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh.
That's the whole time I felt it. When we were talking about Hereditary, the only thing I was thinking of was how much I wanted out of Florence Pugh's relationship in Midsummer, because they really let you feel like they taken advantage of girlfriend.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
A girl who just wants to be loved.
She lost her parents and her sister,
right.
and she feels that
He
grief,
is-
and you
and
feel
he is
that
a
grief.
Dick, and he is a dick about it.
What a great casting
And
she
all
is.
of his friends are dicks. They're like, let her. It's her again. Blah,
Dude
blah,
starts
blah.
pissing on like the eternal tree and shit.
Oh, that
Oh God, yeah.
How part of this movie is like just desserts, but also so grotesque that you also kind of feel bad. Like when you walk in, when you see. So here's the thing: this movie isn't all that horrific. It's very
No.
implied, which, as I've said with Texas Chainsaw, is more terrifying than being hostile. It's so much more terrifying wondering what the fuck happened than watching a drill go through somebody's kneecap.
It's scary because
to me
all of
anyway.
us, we could, all of us could easily picture ourselves in that situation. Imagine your group of friends was like, "Hey,
Where you
Bob's from
slowly.
Sweden. Let's go to his home because they have this huge festival and they love Americans, and we're gonna do drugs and we're gonna have drinks and it's gonna be amazing." And then you
This-
get there and you're like, "Fuck, we're in a commune. What are we doing?"
The
here?
scariest
It's too
white
late
people,
now."
the scariest white people I've ever seen.
Yeah,
Like the suicide scenes when they jump off the cliff
Yeah.
and you watch the body go thud, and then you watch the hammer go thud.
It's like, oh shit, they're not dead yet.
I was alone without my wife, and I'm sitting in the movie theater, and I'm like, "Holy shit! Did you see this?" Like it blew
I'd be
me.
going to the front asking for a refund. Hey, this guy next to me, he's a bit much.
It blew me away. Like if you can't tell, it blew me away. And again, the daylight and the backdrop and the outfits and the flowers. It's so that tweet.
Beautiful.
I search for vocabulary and synonyms to say that tweet because I wanted to precisely say what I was trying to say in
Dictate what you're
140
trying to-
characters.
Yeah.
When I say it's like perverse, there is so much weird shit happening in this movie. I've never felt, and I guess this may be a better question for Lucas, and maybe explain to me why, with your background and everything. I've never felt so captivated. I don't know if it was just because I was so into the story, but everything feels so odd and so different. And that's why I use the word perverse. It was captivating in a way. It was like I didn't understand it, but I didn't dare look away. I didn't dare look at my phone. I have never felt so into something. I was completely immersed in everything. I was looking at the background, the side characters. What's this person doing over here? Why is this picture here? I was in it in a way that I don't know if I've ever been into a movie any other way.
Well, I think that's when like everything just comes together. You know, it's like perfect cinema. The storytelling, the cinematography, the sound. I mean, I went to the movie theater by myself too, and I remember being there watching it because it again, it's one of those movies that just
You're ever in the theater and you've got to
envelops
pee,
you.
but you don't go?
Yeah, exactly. Because you're like, I'll go
Oh, wait.
later. Right now is this. I'm watching this.
I love the fact that we just got what you just said on recording. I hyped this movie up. I tweeted that. I can't tell you how bad my wife felt when I was like, this is the best horror movie I've ever seen. And she just watched Annabelle Creation, which we liked. Not half as good as this movie. You know, I was like, she was like,
felt bad for her.
She was like, fuck, we picked the wrong movie. I was like, we totally picked the wrong movie. This is the best movie I've ever seen. And just to back you up, and the reason I tell this anecdote, when I got the director's cut and I brought it home and we watched it, and here's the thing, I didn't tell her anything about the movie. I just told her that I loved it. I didn't tell her what happened. I didn't allude to what happened. We sat down. I was like, we're going to watch this. I'm not going to tell you anything. When the movie was over, this is what she said to me. This is art. It needs to be in a museum somewhere. Mm-hmm. She doesn't even like horror. And she was like, this is the best thing you've ever shown me.
That's
Did
amazing.
you hear that, listeners? Donnie would not spoil this film for his wife, but you are our second-class citizens.
If
You are
you
not
haven't
his
seen
wife.
Midsummer yet, I can't help you. I don't know what to. Why are you here? I have so many questions.
It would be interesting to hear from somebody who didn't like the movie and the reasonings.
I don't want
as
to hear from
why.
Justin.
No,
Not Justin. It'd
it's
be
just-
interesting to hear from somebody not Justin.
It's an interesting because there are people who don't like. They go.
It
"Oh,
doesn't have a
art."
great Metacritic. It's like an 80.
I think what
It's
I
not
think what
Us.
it
It's not Get Out. It's not those films.
difference between this and other artistic movies is that it doesn't feel pretentious, honestly. Like it might come off that way to some, but it really, like, having seen
I would
a
agree
lot
with
of
you.
artistic films, it doesn't come off as pretentious or like wink wink nod nod, we're making art over here, so anybody who doesn't like that can stuff themselves.
Unlike the killing of sacred deer, unlike Us, it's completely explained if you're there for it.
Yeah. And there's so much going on. Like when you posted that thing about the drugs and how that actually like continues for far longer than you realize, that it's those small touches in anything that really add up and help convey a story.
It's expertful.
It's expert storytelling.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen very often, but when it
This
does,
is all of our number one movies. So Josh, get in here, like tell us. But like I've waxed poetic. I don't know what else I can do. Like this is a 10 out of 10 movie for me if I've ever had one.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't. Obviously, I agree with everything you guys have said, and I think I kind of said why I love it in our conversation earlier. Like, it's just what Ari Aster does, right? He makes you. I'm a very out of my control, empathetic human being, and I hate that sometimes.
yeah,
And
hear that.
and his movies really take advantage of people like me in a good way, and maybe in a bad way also. I think this makes empaths out of people who aren't. But for people who are like me, who are very empathetic, these are tough movies, and they're horror or horrific because you're experiencing the film through the characters. You're not watching a movie, right? You
It's a
are
perfect way of
Florence
putting it.
Pugh. You are in this toxic relationship, and you want to make it work still. You don't know why. You feel like she wants this to work, and you want it to work. She's put in this thought, and then when shit goes sideways, you want her to do the right thing. You want her to make the right decisions, even if it's to make tough choices that maybe you would never make. And then you hope for the best outcome when she makes those decisions. You don't want her arc to end where it does. That's not what she wants, but that's what she is.
Oh, I'm not
She's-
gonna lie to you.
She's
When
in a
the time
situation
comes
that
for
is
him to
out
get
of her
his just
control.
desserts, I was totally fucking for it. I
Wait,
was
but-
like,
But she's not left in a good spot, and
You're right.
And
Yeah.
they want. He does this thing where it's kind of implied that she's fine, and like you can maybe kind of be like, "Oh, she's going to be fine," but from the story of the whole movie, she's screwed. She feels good for a minute. She feels loved. but
Vindicated.
She hasn't felt loved for the whole movie.
it's true.
She feels this sense of community and family,
Yep. Support.
but she doesn't know, and we know that it isn't going to last.
Yeah.
And that's scary. That's the scariest like thing of all. You live with this character for the whole movie, and you feel for her, and you see that she thinks she's getting what she wants, but you know she isn't,
Yeah.
which makes it like 10 times worse.
It's like the devil one, you know what I mean? And she
Yeah,
doesn't
like-
even know it. Like
she doesn't know she lost. She
Yeah.
has this like feeling of family and love.
I know I
and
told you guys
she's
last
gonna be
year
off a cliff.
on our 3-hour horror podcast, but I love that this movie is so slowly built that by the time that you reach the end, you're literally on fire. And I'm not necessarily sure how many people realize the fact that the person's fucking burning alive. People are like, "It's not that's." I saw one of the reactions I saw to this movie. It wasn't that scary. It's not a horror movie. And I'm like, we did not watch the same movie. You were not paying attention.
Yeah,
This
I mean, it's the
person's
people
being
who want-
burned at the fucking stake.
Yeah.
It's not Paranormal Activity, right? The people who want that, yeah, they're not going to get that out of this for
It's
sure.
not jump scares.
It's the
haunted
opposite
house.
of that.
Yeah.
It's human nature. It's everything.
When
about
you
it
see
is
the dude's
human
lungs?
experience. Yes,
Oh, God.
That is the scariest shit.
it is.
That was so scary. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah,
It's the stuff that could be real that is much more horrible to me.
I think this movie, because of its implied nature and because of its like because of the weird things that I love about it, I think this movie comes as close to Texas Chainsaw as anything that's come since Texas Chainsaw. There's a lot of I have a lot of the same feelings with the original Texas Chainsaw, and maybe I just love that movie more than I should, but like the original Texas Chainsaw left so many things implied, so many things weird. The first time I watched it, I was in my own head about it. I was like, why is this happening? And what is he exactly doing? And I was trying to piece it all together. It's exactly where I was with Midsommar. And the reaction that I was having felt familiar in that way. Where I was just jumping from conclusion to conclusion. And then when you see horrific things like the lungs and being burned, it's like, you're like, this is terrifying. Like those hammers, those big wooden, and the way that they explained it is almost more terrifying than the actual act that's happening. Like you see this grotesque imagery and they're like, listen, these aren't Americans. They're not people like you. This is their way of life. And you're like,
Yeah.
I guess that's okay. Like it lulls you into the sense. And then by the end of the movie, you're like, I have experienced some really fucked up shit. You know, it lulls you into thinking it's okay. And I think that's the scariest part of the whole thing. And the whole movie does that. From the whole breeding thing and the arranged relationships, like the whole community is kind of this weird cultish sacrament fuck fest, right? Like just this mind fuck that's going on, this manipulation. And like that's terrifying. And then the actual things that are happening are 10 times worse. I don't know. I was caught off. I wasn't caught off guard, but lulled. That's the only word I have. I was lulled into accepting it in a way that like Saw or Hostel or Nightmare. Never, those things I never accepted as being like, this is the way this happens.
Yeah.
And in Midsommar, I was like,
saying-
this is this community. And that shit scared me more than anything. I was like,
What
well,
you're saying
you
is
know.
the platform can't be your number one if you rewatch it. If you watch it for the first time,
It doesn't sound like it's gonna.
I was just like, this is how these people live. For so much of this movie, I was like, like this when in Rome. And at the end, by the time I got to the end, I was like, that's the scariest shit ever. This is how people rise to power. Oh my God. Like, what am I
I'm in a
capable of?
cult now. I'm not even sure what just happened.
Exactly.
Dad, I think I'm in a cult.
Oh, just an expert mind fuck, I guess, if you will. I was just over the moon.
Yes.
This is what I thought like Suspiria was going to be like after all that hype. So something like this where, it just really does captivate you. It's a pretty high bar.
And it's
a
those
very high
weird
bar.
things, right? Like
Yeah.
what the fuck was that? Why is that a thing? Why are they doing that? Like the water, the pubic hair, they're all of these fucking weird little things that you're like, why are they doing that? What's the connection? And I don't even know if there was a connection.
It's just
pubic
it's the way.
hair.
It's the way.
The way.
It's just these people. This is the way these people are. They have a fucking sacred tree. It lays on the
Listen, if
ground.
we can't all communally orgasm together, what life are we living?
Maybe we got it wrong.
Dude, that whole scene was a trip. My wife, like, I never forget. My wife looked at me, and I felt uncomfortable watching with my wife.
I'm
And I've seen,
Yeah.
I've seen tons of sex scenes with my wife. And my wife looked at me, and she was like, "The fuck is happening?"
Yeah.
Yeah,
I was
it's-
mortified, and I was in a theater with a bunch of strangers that I didn't even know. I'm like, so glad I'm sitting in the front row because I don't want to see all these people looking at each other like, what the hell are we watching right now?
I just went to see Midsummer with my mom, and she's sitting right next to me. In the
Oh my God! Could you imagine watching Midsummer with your
Oh
parents?
God, I can't imagine watching it with anybody. Really, like I'm glad I went to the theater by myself.
I think I am
Josh
too.
slowly puts his hand on Lucas's knee.
It's not that kind of movie.
Do you imagine if that's the moment where you decide to slip the arm? You're like,
Oh God.
Popcorn's almost out, Lucas. You want to get one more grab of that
Oh
popcorn?
God.
guys,
Horrible.
I fucking love this movie. I'm going to be a shill. I'll be a stan. You call me whatever you want, bias, whatever. I don't care. I love this movie in a way I love very seldom. I don't want it to be lost on me because I think it's important. How many times have you ever been to a theater and watched a movie the day or week or whatever it came out where you walked out of the movie going, this is one of the best movies I've ever seen? Isn't it like a fleeting, rare occurrence?
Yeah, not very often.
It's like never
No, not
happened.
often.
And then
Especially
in the horror
lately.
space, like in a genre that you love, that obviously
Horror never.
that we all love, right?
Horror,
Exactly.
That's never happened.
That was my biggest takeaway. That's the reason why I love this movie so much. I was in that moment walking to my car and I was like, this is what it must have been like for people that watched Halloween.
Or Jaws.
Or like, yeah, just whatever that movie was. This is that moment for me. Like I am living in that moment for years. For 2 decades of my entire life, I was like, I missed it. I missed all the fun. Like I missed it. And the Midsummer comes along. It's like, I had it. This was my moment. I was there the day that Midsummer came out. I can tell that to people. Like I was there. And I don't know if there's ever been a movie, to be honest. Like I think Interstellar might be the only other movie that comes close where I can say that. Like, oh, I saw that in theaters the day it came out.
Yeah. Yep.
So there you go, listeners. We fucking love this movie.
Yeah.
Love it.
If you had to, I mean, obviously, I don't think it goes without saying. I think everybody that just heard me for like the last 40 minutes knows. If I had to pick a movie for the decade, undoubtedly, it's not close for me. For me, at least.
But we are for sure picking it for 2019.
Absolutely.
Yeah. No question there.
It was so funny because when we started thinking of this idea for the show, like the format and everything, when we said like, hey, we're all going to deliberate and pick one, in my head, I was like, if they don't fucking pick Midsummer, we're going to have an issue.
It's going to be a long episode.
I picked Escape Room.
Like, I'm not going to leave this fucking episode until everybody agrees with me.
I will change your mind.
So, with that said, does anybody have any? I've got a bunch myself, but I've talked a lot, so I will cede the floor. How about some other honorable mentions?
Short list. Crawl.
That's a good one.
You see Crawl? Great.
Yeah, I did
great
see Crawl.
Creature
monster
feature. Yeah.
Creature feature. And Kayla, I'm going to mess up her last name, Scoladero or whatever. And Barry Pepper. Great jobs.
Barry Peppers. Yeah.
I also, what else do I have on my list?
I
Pet
own a
Sematary,
movie.
Big miss
Pet
for me.
I would agree with that. Not as good as the original.
Harm to children, not my bag anymore.
You think so?
Punching your daughter, no thank you. Watching
sure.
a child get run over by a truck, no thank you.
Let me ask you guys this. I saw that in theaters the day it released. My wife wanted to go see Pet Sematary. I agree with you. Here's the thing. I don't think it's as good as the original, but it's weird to say that because it's oddly like a very one-to-one remake of the original.
Yeah, they just changed the daughter to the...
Yeah, they hit like a lot of the same
son.
beats, but it just doesn't feel the same. But I think this might be a hot take, but I've never said it to anybody, so maybe I'm just in my own head about this. I love Pet Sematary 2 way more than Pet Sematary 1.
Yeah, I think that's not a hot take. I think that's
Okay.
a good film.
It's really
for sure.
funny in a way that like the original never was.
They got Stephen King out of the way, and they were like, "Let's make this movie right."
Yeah. Stephen
Okay.
King and movies doesn't really
It's got Ed Furlong.
go together very
it's
well.
fucking hilarious.
And then before we go to Lucas, I just wanted to mention I watched a film from this year, which has now made history. It is now in the top 5. Maybe it's now in the top 3 worst movies I've ever seen in my life.
I'm excited to hear this.
Yeah, what is it?
Picture is by Gaspar Noé, who did Irreversible and other movies. It's called Climax. It is
I almost watched
I've
that.
seen Climax.
horror film with Sophia Boutelle.
Hang on a second.
Or
You liked
Hello?
Mother, right?
Teen Mother.
Oh, my bad. Never mind.
This movie
I would lop
so
them together, Mother and
so
Climax.
bad. I can't even imagine another movie being this bad, Donnie, to be honest with you. So I'm going to watch Mother.
I don't think Mother. Okay, hang on. Let me.
Film.
Mother is way better, like produced and written. Maybe Climax is kind of like they're both like really weird, strange movies.
The acting in this film is horrendous. They literally just got dancers and put them in a film.
Yeah,
Can you
Mother
dance?
has better acting for sure.
Guess
This
what?
is
We're just
French, you said?
It's a French film, yeah. We're just gonna put a camera on you for 25 minutes in a straight shot of this film playing the same song,
Yep.
and you're just gonna dance, and it's overhead camera. Not to mention, I don't know, more child harm. There is a part of the film that is filmed upside down. There is part of the film where it's only screaming for 15 minutes.
Yep.
It is.
It's
What
artsy,
an
Lucas.
American would think
Sounds
of as
pretentious. Word
cinema.
of the day.
I think that's a very fitting word for that movie.
An American's idea of French cinema, and it stinks like non-deodorant French people. This movie sucked my ass. It is so bad.
Wow.
You're like mad at it.
Put that on the box.
Never
This
recommend
movie
it.
sucked my ass.
I never recommend this film to anybody. Not my worst
That
enemy.
could be considered a good thing, though, right?
I wish I could Men in Black flash Donnie so he wouldn't remember seeing this movie.
Help him along.
Starts with the credits, and then 25 minutes into the film, there's more credits.
That's true.
And then 20 minutes longer, there's another credit sequence.
It
Climax
sounds like
is
a
an
joke.
experience. I actually would love to know Lucas's thoughts on this movie because it's something.
I
I don't know if it's good, but it's something.
I sort of want to watch it just because it sounds awful.
Don't
What's
watch
that?
it.
Don't watch it.
Don't.
No, I kind of want to hear what Lucas thinks. I kind of want the show where Lucas comes back and he's like, Josh, you know what you're talking about. This movie's amazing.
Lucas, if you watch this movie and you think it's amazing,
We're
I
no
will
longer
never-
friends.
Oh,
ever.
well, I'm definitely gonna watch it now. Oh, I'm just kidding.
So here's what I would say about this movie. And the reason why I watched it, if you Google like best horror movies, it shows
Yeah,
up
it
a
comes up
lot.
on lists. Yeah.
Fortunately, that's where I watched it.
Yep, same. And I agree with you, Josh. I didn't like it. I don't know if I hated it as much as you, but
I was like, oh.
I don't think it was good either. I agree with you.
Huh.
Like I think
Oh,
Blair
no.
Witch remake is way worse.
You don't agree with me because I don't think that there's two worse movies than this.
This is your Blair Witch movie. This is your Blair Witch. I love it.
I hate that I wasted. Not only that, it's not
Yeah.
even a long movie. It felt like a 6-hour long movie,
Ugh.
and it's like an hour and a half. I hate it. I hate it so much.
I
If you're
hate its
listening to this,
face.
I hate this movie.
Do you hate the person who made the movie?
You know what? I don't know him, but yeah, I wish he was dead.
Wow.
Whoa.
That's truly horrific.
I'm kidding. I don't wish anyone was dead.
Anyone? I mean, I'm sure there's someone.
I mean,
I definitely wish there was a few people that would just die. Like the world would be better without
this is
them.
a slippery slope. I just don't wish he was dead. Lucas, what are your honorable mentions?
Well, I'm glad that you gave me the time to look this up, and I almost mentioned a movie that apparently released in 2020. So I almost did my classic
Ooh.
That's on
snafu.
track for a regular episode.
Yeah. So I do have at least one movie I've seen in 2020. Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark.
I watched it this week. I own the Blu-ray.
Look at you. I was
great.
excited for this one. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah, not great.
you'll think of it. It's like, how are you going to put all these short stories
Okay.
together?
Here's what I'll say about it.
Stop
Not
lying,
a-
Lucas.
Not a bad pick if you've got like preteens, young kids that you want to get into horror.
Yes.
Not awful. It's okay. It's like a Casper
of the
like
dark?
experience that's scarier than Casper, but not much. It's all
Yeah,
right.
it's the Are you ready for adult horror films yet?
kind
Kind
of.
of testing the waters.
I
type
agree.
deal.
I agree.
Which I sort of expected. It's based on kids' books, but I mean,
It's actually based on the book. Did you guys read that
Yeah.
book?
Yeah, it was like an
Yeah.
anthology.
yeah.
Did
There's
you
like
know?
3 of them.
Did you know that there's a documentary about those books?
No.
I watched the documentary. It's not great, but it
No.
is enlightening in the fact that like there were like moms PTA groups against the book trying to get it like taken out of libraries and stuff. Like that's asinine. That's insane.
I remember getting it.
Instead.
What? What was that?
remember
I didn't
getting
get that, Josh.
Banicula. That's what those parents wanted you to
Oh
read.
gosh, but
Those
Oh.
scary stories.
Oh.
You read Banicula instead.
That was ridiculous.
I was transfixed by the art in those books.
That-
so weird.
The art in the documentary, they spend an amazing amount of time talking about the artist that did it and why it did it and how they did it. And there's like 3D mold creations and claymations and stuff to recreate it. There's a lot of that. If you're into the art, you actually might like the documentary.
Maybe I will check it out.
It's on Amazon. The documentary's on Amazon.
All right. No, I don't think there's too much here. Tigers Are Not Afraid was kind of a miss for me.
Ooh, I love that movie.
I could see, again, one of those that I don't think I was really invested in. When
I think that's
sat
a
down to
Josh
watch
movie.
it.
I think Josh should absolutely watch that movie. I think I
Yeah,
told you that
maybe you
last
could-
year, Josh. I think you love that movie.
You can be the tiebreaker because I don't know, like the turn.
My wife loves that movie.
Tigers, what now? I'll put it on my list.
Tigers are not afraid.
Of what?
Nope, that's it.
Ghosts.
That's
We
it's about
alluded at-
it's about a poverty-ridden community overcoming itself through the world of horror
Yeah,
and the power of children.
yeah.
Oh.
That
I like it. It's on Shudder.
Puts a bow on it.
Josh, you need a Shudder account.
Yeah, I'm gonna subscribe.
Yeah.
And lastly, Haunt. That was that Shudder movie, if I'm remembering correctly.
It's a good one.
I actually didn't mind that. Yeah, that's what
It's
I
fun.
would call like fun. Yeah,
Yep.
exactly. So, I mean, I don't always look down my nose at everything and go, "Well, it's not art, is it?"
Oh boy.
So,
Well, then let me.
You gotta
didn't-
watch Climax.
with my wife.
I didn't look up all the dates on these, so maybe you guys can correct me here, but I've got a few that I at least want to throw out there. I think we've touched on a lot. First and foremost, Annabelle Comes Home. I actually liked. I enjoyed. It's supernatural in a way that the other ones aren't. But it's for a purpose, which I appreciate. If you're going into it not invested into the Conjuring universe, I don't think you will appreciate it. You'll be like, why the hell is there a werewolf? What the fuck's going on? This is weird. If you're into the Conjuring universe and you're following it, all that stuff has meaning, and that's why it's there. So I think that might be a big disconnect that I have with that movie that other people don't. Josh, have you seen Doctor Sleep, and should I watch it?
Oh no, it was on my list.
I have the movie.
Wow.
I bought the movie, and I haven't watched it yet.
I have my cousin's Voodoo, and it's on his Voodoo, and I kept poking at it, but the runtime was too long every time.
Same. I keep putting it off.
I didn't have the time to watch it.
What is 2.5 hours? I'm guessing.
I don't remember.
To be
what-
honest with
I
you, it's
just-
like a sequel that I don't think I ever wanted. It's like I don't have like a burning desire to watch it, but it's like just a wanting to watch it. Wanting to say I
feel the
watched
same
it.
way. I feel
Yeah.
the same way. I don't know that I needed a sequel to The Shining, but I also simultaneously want to watch it.
Kind of scared that
Yeah.
it like ruins The Shining. Like, I don't know about this one, guys.
Yeah, yeah. It seems like you're touching something that should be untouchable. You know, like just leave it alone.
I had
It's on
the
my two watch lists, so and so was Ma. Did you guys see Ma?
I did see Ma. Yeah, I saw Ma. Ma is middling to good. I like Ma. I don't think it's great. If you've seen the trailer, you've seen the movie.
That's what I figured.
Yeah. The Perfection came out May 2019. I like The Perfection.
Oh, I like that movie.
I like The Perfection. The Perfection is cool because Josh, you said Hereditary felt like 3 movies. Perfection definitely feels like 2 different movies. There is the first movie, and there's a whole fucking second movie, and they are not the same movies. And I liked it for that. Child's Play, the remake.
Yeah, I did watch that. Yeah.
Did you? Did you like it?
I did. You know, it wasn't too bad actually. Again, another like fun kind of movie. And I could see like, were you happy with it?
I thought the movie was average. I think I said that when I came out of the movie theater. I don't regret watching it or purchasing it. I had a really fun time watching it.
Yeah.
I went to the movie theater with the Chucky doll. So I got to have that experience. Everybody that was at the theater loved the fact that I brought Chucky with me. That was a really cool experience. All right, so the fun, I know we're running long, and I'm sorry, Lucas. I'm not trying to take your time, but
Oh no, it's okay. You already did. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm sorry. That really makes me feel bad.
I'm joking. I'm joking.
I'm gonna call you when my son wakes up, and then we'll see how you do.
So I wanted to take Chucky. A big reason why I bought the doll. This is the limited edition, not Scream Factory, Trick or Treat Studios replica doll of the thing. It was a limited edition. I paid a lot of money for it. And the reason I wanted it was twofold. I always wanted a Chucky doll. From the moment I saw Chucky, I wanted a Chucky doll. And I was actually always like really perplexed and surprised that they didn't make Chucky dolls. Isn't that a weird thing? Like in the world of marketing, like why did we never have like I'll go to Walmart and get a Chucky doll?
Right.
It didn't make any damn sense to me. Anyway, the second part that I wanted is I actually wanted to take him with me to watch the movie. That was the reason why I bought the doll.
You saying that, yeah.
Because we haven't had a Chucky movie in theaters in so long, and it's not Chucky, it's a different doll and all that. I get that, different writer and everything, but it's still same thing. And so I took him with me, and I'm not gonna lie to you. When I bought the doll and I got up and I unboxed him and everything, my wife thought it was the dumbest, geekiest, dorkiest thing. She was like, "I cannot believe you're gonna go to the movie theater in public carrying a doll." And I was like, what are you talking about? I thought it was cool. And I was like, this is the coolest thing in the world. Like, people take lightsabers to see Star Wars. How is this any different? And she was like, you're going to be laughed at and made fun of. And to the point, I'm not joking with you. Literally. She was like, I don't know if I want to go with you. She's like, I kind of want to go. I want you to just go by yourself. Like, I don't want to be subject to this ridicule.
Oh my gosh.
Guys, I cannot tell you a more, as a husband, you live for these moments where you get to tell your wife you told her so. Like, you live for these moments. The moment I walked into the door carrying a Chucky doll, everybody in the theater thought it was the coolest fucking thing they'd ever seen. Everybody wanted a selfie. The damn people getting the popcorn wanted selfies. The people at the ticket stand wanted selfies. When I walked into the theater, people started clapping. They all wanted selfies. I had to make an announcement that we would have selfies after the movie.
Oh my gosh.
Like it was a fucking event. It was a thing. It was a whole thing. They
hired you to come to the movie.
It felt that way. To the
that
point.
Tells you how rare those are then too, because
Lucas, when we walked out, my wife requested to hold the doll.
Wow.
She was like, I want to hold him. And I was like, this is some bullshit. You hated on this.
You don't get the 180 on that.
I tease her.
In the car.
I tease her forever about this. She made me go to Taco Bell with him in the front seat with her. That's a legit thing that happened. So I had a blast.
You let Taco Bell anywhere near that doll.
I had a blast going to see Child's Play. I think it's a middling movie. It's okay to the original, I guess. I loved who's the actress? Help me. I just can't think of her name. I can see her face.
Yeah, she's kind of
Aubrey Plaza.
Yeah.
She's great.
Your tongue, Lucas. She's not creepy.
The thing that I was in love with. Did you guys ever see her hair barrette? When she was doing pre-marketing for the movie, she had a hair barrette that was the like the kitchen knife that went over her ear.
Yeah.
I was like, that is the hottest thing I've ever seen a girl do.
Let me just peek into Donnie's fetish world.
Oh my god! Like the moment I saw that, I was like, we have to buy these for you, Melissa. Like you have to do this.
The Suicide Girls.
So the thing that I didn't like about the movie was like what I felt like was the shoehorned in Stranger Things kids thing. That was my biggest thing.
Yeah.
They didn't explain it. It plays a role, which I think makes it worse that they didn't explain it. Like they introduced this band of kids, but they don't like you don't know their names really because they're not important. Like they're not there. But then they totally play like a part of the climax, which didn't make any fucking sense to me at all. I was like, why? It felt shoehorned. That's the only thing. It just felt like a cheap ploy. It was like, dude, people love gangs of kids in all the stereotypical way. We've got the geeky tomboy girl. We've got the boy that nobody likes. We've got the black kid. It just felt shoehorned in. I was like, this is stupid. That's the one thing I didn't like about it. The lawnmower kill, fucking awesome. Like that was Child's Play. That was great. I think Child's Play is best when Chucky uses things that can't kill people to kill people. Like that's the thing that's cool about Chucky. And the premise of like this AI inspired doll that's your friend that like is learning from movies and stuff. I love that premise. I think that premise actually in 2020 has a lot of advantages over the original Voodoo premise that was the original film. So as a fan of the series, I liked it. It was okay. It was okay to good. It was okay to good. I was okay with it. I wouldn't adopt it as a new thing, but if they came out with a sequel, totally go to the theater again and see it again for sure. Zombieland Double Tap.
Oh yeah.
Kind of let me down. It was okay. That's the best thing. I wouldn't even say okay to good. It was okay. Josh, let's see here. Oh, I just had it. Happy Death Day to You. I liked.
Uh-huh.
I like that movie. I think the sequel is better than the original. Very twisty, very different. Very funny though. Horror comedy. Way more horror comedy. Actually, maybe the first movie would have done better if they leaned more into it. It was already horror comedy, but maybe not enough for the weird Groundhog Day presence that it was. And then I've got Saint Agatha. Sucked. Don't watch that one. And then I've got The Prodigy. Okay, if you like The Omen. If you don't like The Omen, don't watch it. Girl on the Third Floor. Have you watched it? It's on Netflix.
Never heard of it.
No, either.
Good haunting movie. Good haunted house movie. Really good, like, Amityville movie. Best Amityville movie. Yeah, I'll say it. Best Amityville movie. Girl on the Third Floor. Fun fact, the reason why I watched it, guess who stars in the movie?
CM Punk.
CM Punk, former wrestler. Doesn't do a great job. Doesn't do an awful job. Isn't as bad as you think it is.
Serviceable.
He's okay. But the other...
He's the John Cena of acting.
But the other... Oh, God. In the Tall Grass?
Yeah, I watched the trailer. I haven't seen that one yet.
I didn't like that one. Have you guys seen The Dead Don't Die?
No, that's the Jarvish movie, right? Jim Jarmusch?
It has Bill Murray, and it has the Star Wars guy.
And Selena
Adam
Gomez.
Driver, right?
Yeah, Adam Driver,
he's in
Selena
Star Wars.
Gomez, Bill Murray.
I haven't watched that one either. The fun fact that I had from this year, and I guess we'll use this to close on, is Joker a horror movie?
No, unless you count
Sure?
single white men being horrific. I don't think so.
I saw a blog about this when I was looking at movies, and it was like, is Joker a horror movie? I kind of think it is a horror movie.
I think the premise that he's allowed to be the way he is horrific, but I don't think it's a horror film.
I think we've seen a lot of horror movies, psychological in nature, that end up with bad premises that are very similar.
Do you think like Primal Fear or Identity is a horror film? Because I think it's like more similar to those.
I was going to say like Don't Leave Kevin Alone, but
I haven't seen that one yet.
Yeah, I haven't seen
It's on my list.
I haven't seen Identity. So anyway, I just thought that was a fun little thing to talk about. But
Yeah, that's a good question.
We've gone on a very long time, and I'm looking at it and realizing what time it is, and I'm sorry, Lucas. I didn't mean to.
Oh no, I mean it's all right. I'm
It's
here.
not all
I'm
right.
here to do
It's
it.
not all right. You actively said it was not all right. I understand it's not all right. I'm sorry. I apologize. We were just flowing, and I was letting it riff, and then as we were wrapping up, I was like, this is fucking too long. I'm sorry.
We do it because we love it, right, Lucas?
That's right.
My son's gonna be up in 4 hours.
Hey,
it's fine.
Just
I
know,
get to sleep in tomorrow. So.
just know we don't have another recording for like we're good for a while. Right? So
You can sleep for 2 weeks, Lucas.
I probably would if I could.
all right, guys, that's gonna do it for us.
Yeah.
This year, this episode. I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as I did, and fucking love Midsommar like I do. I hope everybody does. I want everybody to like that. I was gonna say we're over the hump, but that's not even the right damn terminology, guys. We're almost done recording this.
Yeah.
How do you
And
feel
here.
about that?
Happy and sad.
Is it?
It was nice to go back and actually watch things with a purpose, like to have a reason to go watch things. Sometimes I kind of need that to actually do those things. But it's also a really tough schedule to
It's a lot.
2 weeks. 2 weeks sounds like a lot of time, but really, if you think about it,
I don't think our listeners know that what we do basically is we've been recording these 2 week blocks. So we give ourselves 2 weeks to watch all the movies we want, and then we actually record 2 years at a time. So we're doing 2 years every time we record.
so you're trying to fit, 2 years worth of movies.
Which sometimes is 30, 40 movies. And
And
2
we
weeks.
actively watch all
yeah, I was going to say,
between
that's
8 to 10 movies each.
Yeah, that's easily the hardest part that folks that are listening to shows maybe not recognize is we are actually, we've got messages where we're sharing each other, the title screens, the things we're watching. In addition to playing the games and doing the podcasts that we already do, we've been watching 10, 12, 15, 20-ish horror movies.
In a 2-week period.
I think the most I've done in 2 weeks is I watched 23 horror movies. I almost
Holy
did 2 a
cow.
day.
Insane.
But I was doing like 6 on Saturday and 6 on Sunday.
Oh my God. Does your family like look for you? Like where?
My wife is next to me most of the time. She watches them most of the time with me. But
That definitely helps.
our
My wife
Nintendo
would
Shack
never watch a
listeners,
scary movie.
if you're like, what the fuck's Donnie doing? He's not playing the game. That's kind of what I'm doing.
I'm busy.
And I won't apologize.
There's
Listen.
nothing to play anyway.
All you listeners out there, you don't have an excuse when you're like, oh, I don't know what to watch.
Justin.
We're providing you.
Justin hasn't watched any horror movies for a decade. And he's
Justin.
like, why are you spoiling this movie from 2011? Jesus, Donnie.
Justin, watch Climax for me.
Oh gosh.
Watch the platform. So yeah, anyway, we're basically on the penultimate episode. We're going to do a 2020 episode, and then we're going to do a wrap up. And then by the time we do the wrap up, we really, I don't know if we should we talk about it beforehand? Like, we have to discuss what we're going to do for the future of the show. If this is like something we want to continue, if something the listeners want us to continue, I think that would be helpful to know if the listeners are listening to this. If you like the show and you like to see something like it in the future, let us know, because at some point we've got to get together and talk about that. We haven't. Up to this point, it's 2019. We've not talked about it as a group.
Would you like us to do a different decade? Let us know.
A different decade, a different genre, just another year. Like, yeah, whatever.
Brand the podcast name if we do a different genre. A decade of romance.
I'm sorry. I was thinking like a whole slashers theme or something like that, or something like that. Yeah. Anyway, that's going to do it for us here in 2019. We hope you join us for our final episode du jour, really, in 2020. But until then, this is the end, friends.
Hi, I'm Chucky, and I'm your friend to the end. Heidi ho!